What's going on, YouTube? We're back with another video. Today I'll be going over some undervalued PPR running backs. It'll be pretty similar to the wide receiver video. I'll be going over the rankings based on this list. This is what I used for the wide receiver video as well. And it was published from ESPN, I believe, on the 25th. Yeah, it says down there 25th. So it's pretty recently updated. They got Sony Michel on the Rams. So yeah, I don't think they'll be too different come whenever your league's draft is, but unless somebody goes down with an injury or something, yeah, that'll be the only thing that changes it. But anyways, let's get into it. First back on the list is going to be Aaron Jones. He comes in this season with a ranking of 9. I believe that's a little too low. His last 2 seasons, he finished RB5, and I believe that everybody is a little hesitant on him now just because A.J. Dillon is getting a lot of hype. Everybody thinks he's going to be the goal line back just because he's so massive. But even if that is the case, I do still think Jones will get some goal line work too. I think Jones is going to be heavily involved now with receiving with Jamal Williams gone. So I think Aaron Jones is going to get career high this year in scrimmage yards. So A.J. Dillon is really getting a lot of hype. He's on the ESPN rank in like the mid-30s. He hasn't proved anything, and he's doing okay in the preseason. He's not wowing anybody. So yeah, I really don't think Aaron Jones should have moved down that much just because A.J. Dillon. So I think getting him towards the end of the first round is a steal. I would take him 5th or 6th, honestly. So next we have Josh Jacobs, and his rank really tanked compared to last year. I believe last year he was top 10, maybe even like top 7, top 8. And that's mainly due to their offensive line looking a whole lot different than it did last year. And then also they brought in Kenyon Drake from the Cardinals, who was their RB1 last year. But I don't think Josh Jacobs is going to be... He's definitely still going to be the RB1. I don't even think that's a question. I think they brought in Drake so they can just pound the ball. Josh Jacobs, he's a big physical back. I think that they're going to continue to use him 20 carries a game. I'd be surprised if they didn't. I think they're just kind of wanting to shift their culture to be run the ball, pass on play action. I think they know that Derek Carr isn't going to carry the offense and that they need a very well-established running game. And yeah, even if they split carries pretty evenly, I think that 21, if there's 20 running backs taken before them, I think you're getting them at a very good value. I believe that he should be taken in the teens for running backs. Even that just sounds low, but I get why his rankings going down to the 20s. I understand why everybody at ESPN has him there, but for me personally, I think that he's definitely top 15 at the lowest. Next we have David Montgomery. He's a guy that looked really good Towards the end of last season, the last 6 games, he just went off. Was averaging 100 yards per game. The Bears kind of just gave up on trying to have Mitch Trubisky win them games. They just started running the ball, giving him 25 carries-ish a game. And they basically just had him, little bit of Cordero Patterson. He's gone now, but Tariq Cohen was injured. They still don't know when he's coming back as of now. And he will be back probably mid-season, I would guess, at the latest. But it is concerning that he doesn't have a timetable yet. And I think that they're going to run it heavily again this year because they want... I think that Field should be starting pretty quickly. He might not start like in September, but definitely sometime in October, hopefully early October. But I think that they'll let Fields get comfortable and try to run it more than they throw it. And it worked out for them nicely. They were struggling. They went 5-1, and then they just, I think, lost 5 games in a row or something, and then started running the ball, and then they started winning games again. So they brought in Damian Williams from the Chiefs, but I don't think that he's going to take much work away from David Montgomery. Certainly not any more than Patterson did. So, yeah, there's not really any reason that people should be afraid of taking him. So, yeah, 16 seems a little low. Could be their O-line's not very good either. That might be a concern. But, yeah, 16, a little low for me. So, next we have Ronald Jones II. He falls all the way back to 39. That's the main reason I put him on here. Pretty efficient numbers from last year, 5.14 yards per carry, which is very good. Even though it's smaller sample size with 192 carries, still almost 1,000 yards. I believe there was only like 4 or 5 guys that even had 1,000 last year. So the talent is definitely there. The main issue is all the other talent that's in Tampa. With Leonard Fournette still good. He proved how good he still was in the playoffs. They bring in Giovanni Bernard. He's going to take away all the receiver work that Ronald Jones had. I mean, maybe he'll have a little bit still. But I just think he's worth taking a shot at that late. Because if he gets going, he had, I think he had 3 or 4 games last year with over 100 yards. And, yeah, I think that, I don't know if he'll still be trending upward stats-wise. He has his first 3 years. They didn't really use him a lot his first 2 years, and then last year he really improved. RB1 spot, they haven't declared anyone. They said it's a close battle. Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones, they're both ranked pretty close. I believe Fournette is like low 30s, so they have him ranked a lot higher than Jones. Yeah, I just think he's definitely worth taking a shot at that low. You're not going to be taking guys that are very good anyways at that point. So I think he's worth the shot. Chris Carson. This one was a pretty easy one for me to put on this list. I think 20 is extremely low. I think he's always been top 12, like maybe 3 years in a row now. Last year he was a little iffy. They didn't really utilize him a lot. But after that Rams game that they lost in the playoffs, Pete Carroll said that they really want to run the ball a lot more next year and that they play better when they do that. And that means that Chris Carson will start having those 20-25 carry games again that he had in 2019 and 2018. And yeah, last year they didn't use him a lot. I don't know if because there was an underlying injury, which he ended up having 4 games benched. And then also he had a career high in receptions last year, which is a good sign, especially in PPR. So he's still young. He's 26. And they are vocal about running the ball more. So all signs are pointing that he should be close to a top 10 back. But who knows? I think getting him even in the late teens is like still really good value. 20 is extremely low. So yeah, I would look to get Chris Carson for sure. A couple honorable mentions. These guys are mainly speculative picks. I think that their rank is still pretty high. But I either think they're going to be higher, they'll be like low teens, or they might just... Swift could get injured. If he doesn't get injured, I think Swift will be in that mid-teens range. And then Edmonds, 22... little low for me just because he's going to be the RB1. I'm not really a believer in James Conner anymore. But he still will take away a bit of the workload. He showed a lot of potential last year, mainly as a receiving back. He's not bad on the ground either. They didn't use him to be that ground guy at all. That was just Drake. He only had like 100 some yards on the ground, and then he had like triple that receiving. But I think he still was averaging like 4.5 yards per carry, so he wasn't bad. But if he can be effective on the ground and as a receiver, I think that 22, he'll blow past that. And Swift, kind of similar to him, except they are going to have to rely on him a lot more than Edmonds. Cardinals, they got Hopkins, they got Christian Kirk, who nobody is really talking about Kirk anymore, Rondale Moore, Kyler Murray. So there's a lot of talent in Arizona. I think in Detroit that Swift is their most skilled offensive player by far, honestly. TJ Hawkinson, he's really good too. Those are the main 2 guys. I think that the main risk in picking up Swift is his health. But if he stays healthy, he'll blow past 18, I believe. The O-line, really underrated. Top 10 O-line for sure. They got Penei Sewell now. Generational talent there. And then they have a new coach who definitely will be looking to use Swift as much as possible, just because he's kind of their best shot at winning games is getting them involved heavily. So I think getting Swift in the high teens, that's good value too. So that's it for this video. A lot of these guys are kind of high risk. Not Aaron Jones and Chris Carson aren't really. Neither is David Montgomery, but I would say that Josh Jacobs and Ronald Jones, and then these two, they're a little more high risk. But I think that with the rank that they're at, it's kind of a risk versus reward type deal that you're betting on, and I think the reward could potentially outweigh the risk. You have to remember there's going to be people drafting tons of wide receivers, tight ends, maybe quarterbacks, because these guys they're low. They're in the 20s, 18, like Josh Jacobs, Chris Carson, 20. So you're going to have a lot of time to get your starters before you get these guys. So yeah, I think these are all guys you should look out for. And yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I'll be coming out with overvalued running backs and receivers probably next. May do tight end and quarterbacks too. So be on the lookout. But yeah, that's it. I'll see you next time.